A Christian education is not just important, it's critical. When we look at a child, there's a lot of things that are not visible. We hear the way they talk, we see the way they act. And a lot of times when we're trying to shape a child's talk, what they say, when we're trying to shape that child's actions, we focus on the actions. We focus on what they're saying. But what we really need to focus on is, where do those come from? So over the years, I have formulated this illustration. A child is like an iceberg. The Titanic did not sink because of the part of the iceberg they could see. It sank because of the part of the iceberg that was underneath. Over 80% of an iceberg is underwater. So when we look at a child, what is underwater? What's under the surface? I believe that if you go to the deepest part of a child, the thing that shapes them is what they perceive to be true. This is not just true of children, it's true of all of us. What do we believe to be truth? So if we start with the concept of truth, that we want our children to hear and to learn and to evaluate things and determine what is true, that shapes their beliefs. And so what we come to believe determines what we value. What do we think is important? Is it important to be kind? Is it important to be respectful? So you have truth that shapes our beliefs, that shapes our values. Once those values are shaped, that becomes our worldview. Our worldview is the lens through which we see the world. It is the lens that shapes our response to what's around us. How do we respond to other people? How do we respond to our circumstances? We talk about a biblical worldview here. God's Word, the Bible, is absolute truth. A biblical worldview means that we see everything through the lens of the truth of God's Word. That is such an amazing concept to think about. The way we do that is through an instructional method called biblical integration. We do not turn a math class into a Sunday school class, but we talk about math from a biblical worldview. Math is the language that describes the order of the universe. And so if we look at math as the language that describes the order of the universe, where does that order come from? It comes from God. God brought order out of chaos when He created the world. And so obviously we can look at history, we can look at science, we can look at language arts, we look at everything through a biblical worldview. We do not shape children by just structuring their actions. We do not shape children by just telling them what to say. We have to teach them what is true, what they should believe, what is valuable, what is important in life. And when we teach those things, the actions and the words that come out of them are going to change. So a Christian education is our effort to instill a biblical worldview in our students so that for the rest of their life, they interpret their experience. They see the world, they see the actions of people around them through the lens of the truth of God's Word. The characteristics of being kind and respectful, those things come from the bottom of the iceberg.